I probably never would have written any of this had I not been forced to.
What do you
Mhm.
mean forced?
So my agent came back and was like, "Hey, no one wants this book, but they want this other thing. Are you interested?" And I was like, "Oh, damn it." Shit.
What's good? I'm Nikisha Elise Williams, and this is Black and Published, bringing you the journeys of writers, poets, playwrights, and storytellers of all kinds. Joining me this week is the hilariously funny Adiba Nelson, author of the motherhood memoir, Ain't That a Mother? On this episode, Adiba explains how she found catharsis in telling her own story.
I'm this woman, but I'm also every woman. I don't think there's a woman who will read this book who will not have at least one thing that they're like, oh yeah, like I get that. I've experienced that. Even if it's like, oh, I saw a fine Black man once. Yep, me too. Like there's something for everybody, right?
As you can hear, there is a lot of laughter in this episode, and I do mean a lot. Adiba discusses how she used humor to help her push through the pain of writing the most gut-wrenching details of her life, how she manifested her own book deal, and the reason her daughter is always her why, whether she's writing or dancing burlesque as Mrs. Big Bang McGillicuddy. That and more is coming up when Black and Published continues. And as a warning, this episode contains discussion of postpartum depression and miscarriage. Be gentle with yourselves.
So my first question is always, when did you know that you were a writer?
When did I like feel it in my bones? I think honestly, when I wrote the article about my daughter's speech therapy, Breaking My Heart, where I talked about how I felt like we were losing a part of our connection. There's a piece that I've written about not loving this parenting journey because real talk, like I wasn't trying to get pregnant. I was actively trying to not get pregnant. And I had all these dreams and thoughts of things I thought I'd be doing. But I think the one that really hit home for me was when I wrote last summer an article for the Washington Post about when will America finally understand the pain of Black women after George Floyd was murdered. And it came from such just a raw wound. And I've never written in the midst of pain. I don't write when I'm emotionally in pain. But it came from like I could have written it with like my own blood. And that's when I was like, oh yeah, girl, you're a writer for sure.
Ooh. So much of this memoir of your parenting journey and just your life experience thus far is painful.
Mm-hmm.
So then how do you tap into the pain if you're not actively writing out of it? Like you wait till you're in a better space to write it, but do you go back to it?
I probably never would have written any of this had I not been forced to. Honestly. There are some just deeply painful hurts that I have never spoken about. The first time I ever even went back to those thoughts and those memories was when I was writing this book. And I realized just how close to the surface of me they live. When there's something that's emotionally painful happening in life, I just put my head down and go. Like, I don't really take time to process it in the moment. I'm like, I've just got to keep moving because I can't drown, I'm a single mom. So there's no time for me to be like, oh my God, what is happening? I just keep going. And then usually about 2 weeks later, I'll have like a breakdown and everything just falls apart and I'm on the floor like a crying, bumbling mess. And then I pick it back up, which I think something most Black women do. because we're not afforded that liberty of the breakdown, right? I sometimes feel like breakdown is a privilege, especially if you're a single mom, being able to stop and have a full on meltdown is a privilege because life around us doesn't stop. Our kids don't stop needing us. Our kids don't stop wanting us. And so I tuck it away until usually the universe is like, no, we're dealing with this right here, right now, whether you want to or not. Or my agent's like, hey, you want to write a book? And I'm like, oh. So
Because that was my next question. You said you wouldn't have written it down or revisited those moments in your life had you not been forced to explore them for this book. What do you mean forced?
I had been contemplating the idea for a couple of years. I'd gone to workshops on writing memoir. I had like written a couple of intro scenes and then just kind of tucked them away. I was like, no. And one agent was pitching my children's book, and everyone turned down the children's book because it's already been self-published. They're like, nah, we're not going to touch that. But this woman should absolutely write a memoir. And so my agent came back and was like, hey, no one wants this book, but they want this other thing. Are you interested? And I was like, oh, damn it. Well, I had kind of been playing with it, and I guess this is the universe's way of saying I'll be doing it. So yeah, I guess I'll do it. And that's what I mean when I say forced. Like the universe will force your hand sometimes. And when God calls, you answer.
So then you talk about coming to writing later because you are by trade a social worker, and then writing your children's book so that your daughter would feel seen.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like for you then to take all that you've cobbled together about writing for when it came time for you to put it down on paper, your story in your own words? What was that process like for you?
Therapeutic, but also gut-wrenching. And I had a full-on, I was just saying, as single moms, we don't have time. We're not afforded the liberty of the breakdown. But during the writing of this book, I had my first, what I would recognize as just a major, massive panic attack while driving down the road, to the point that I had to pull off the road and scream in the middle of a parking lot and sobbing my eyes out, couldn't see. I was just heaving and I couldn't breathe and screaming in my car and screaming in the parking lot, which as a Black woman in Tucson in the middle of the night, that's not really something you want to do. That's not the wisest thing to do. I had to call a friend who had to walk me through a grounding exercise because I could not pull myself together. So what happened just before this that I think brought on this panic attack was I had gone to Mexico to write. I went to Cancun for about 4 or 5 days. And at the time, we didn't have a book deal. We were still in proposal mode. And my agent had asked me to write another sample chapter. And so I decided I was going to write about family history. My mother's history, my grandmother's history, and mine. It ended up becoming the Ferris wheel of infidelity chapter in the book. But it didn't start off that way. And so when I came home from Mexico, I needed to run it by my mom because, major parts of her life is in this chapter. And so I had her read it and I was like, okay, tell me what I need to know for accuracy. And she's like, well, do you want the whole story? Like, do you want the truth? And I was like, well, yeah, I'm writing a memoir. I thought this was the truth. She's like, nah, not even close. And she told me things that, it's hard to even put into words. When I think about this is the woman that raised me, and to think that she experienced these things at the hands of family members, at the hands of my father. Stuff you see in like movies that come with 10 trigger warnings. and I was taking notes, and I was so detached from the moment. Like, I think I just had to separate myself and just be a journalist in that moment. Like, I'm just taking notes for a story. But that shit stays with you, right? And so about 2 weeks later, driving down the road after watching some Christmas movie that was about a George Michael song, and I just lost it completely. Like, just when they say she's come undone, I felt like I was coming undone. And so this journey has been intense.
After having read the book and realizing and knowing, I guess, how generous you are in telling the story of your family life and your family, I did realize that you're not telling your mom's story because that's her story to tell. But I guess then for what you did share in the memoir compared to what you know is the full truth, how did you go about deciding how much of it needed to go into the book to share of your life to try to get the deal? Because it's still very much a industry, a business type of thing.
Yeah. So it was a conversation between my agent and I, because we got a lot of no's. This book was on submission for almost 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And there were quite a few editors that kept saying the same thing. She's hilarious. Her voice is so warm and engaging, and she draws you in from minute one, but she stops when it gets hard. She stops when the emotion gets, like, right when you're like, and she's like, next scene. And I was like, but Jess, like, there's a reason, like, this shit is hard. Like, you want me to bare my soul on this page? And she's like, you don't have to bare your soul. She said, you decide how much of your soul you want to share. You decide how much of your soul needs to go into this book. There are parts that you keep just for yourself that no one ever needs to know, unless you decide that it is important that they know these things. If it's important to help tell your story, that this XYZ part be included, then include it. But if it's too much for you to go there, then find another way to tell that part of the story. And that kind of helped me navigate what parts I wanted to leave in, what parts I didn't, what parts I couldn't, all of it.
Okay, because the book is hilarious. The book is hilarious. It's hard, but it is hilarious. And I was just like, it's a roller coaster because like you're riding the wave and it feels good, but then it's like it's not supposed to in certain parts.
Right. Like, you're not supposed to laugh at that. Damn, that's funny.
Right. And so I was like, okay. And then after a while, I guess, and I guess this relates to writing, but also to your life, is humor your way of coping? Like, if you just make it a
100%.
joke, then it doesn't have to feel so hard.
Right. 100% humor is my saving grace. And I have a great therapist. But being able to find the humor in the most absurd, god-awful situations is what keeps me from probably losing it all the time. Now, granted, there are some situations that are just not funny. There's no way to find humor. Nothing about the event, nothing about the scene, the situation, nothing about it's funny. And those are the heavier, harder, darker parts. And I intentionally did not infuse humor because I wasn't feeling humorous in those specific moments. Nah,
Like,
it wasn't there.
Find the humor, yeah. And that comes through in the reading. You say the book was 2 years on submission. You spent 4 years kind of breadcrumbing it before you were actually put into the position to actually begin the proposal to write the book. How long did it take you to write the memoir?
Honey, I wrote this thing during the pandemic. 8 months. This is my pandemic baby.
I have an actual pandemic baby, and you have a book.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like my priorities are off here.
Yes, this was my pandemic baby. I got the deal in May and I turned it in January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should rethink this infant sitting next to me, because I like your pandemic baby a whole lot better.
Yes.
Once you got that I guess advice from your agent about how to navigate the pieces that you didn't want to include, and you got the book into shape, what was the publishing journey like from there?
I've heard horror stories from other authors. It has been a dream. I was really adamant that I wanted to work with a Black editor because I know the tone of my book, because it feels like you're talking to a girlfriend. It's the equivalent of your girl calls you up like, what you doing? Girl, I'm coming with some wine. I got a story for you. Like, that's how I write when I do a lot of my truth telling, because I'm this woman, but I'm also every woman. I don't think there's a woman who will read this book who will not have at least one thing that they're like, oh yeah, like I get that. I've experienced that. Even if it's like, oh, I saw a fine Black man once. Yep, me too. Like, there's something for everybody, right? So I was really, really adamant that I wanted to have a Black editor. And at the time, Blackstone did not have any in-house. And I was like, well, let me find you some. And so I provided a list of names, and I starred the one that I really wanted to work with, which was Kelly Glass. And they contacted Kelly, and Kelly became my editor for my book. And then I know like cover design can be a major issue for authors. And I'm just going to keep it real. Like, I'm a Scorpio. I like to control all the things all the time. And so I had sent them my author photo, which was like this very like professional, cute picture. And they emailed me that they wanted to use that for the cover. And I was like, no. I emailed them. I was like, I'm so glad y'all love that picture. I said, but that's like a very nice Black lady picture. My friends are gonna look at that and be like, who's this? Who is this woman on this cover? That's not you.
Harpo, who this woman?
Literally. And I was like, let me send you some ideas. And so I worked with Caroline King, who was at the time a local photographer. She's in New York now. She is an amazing photographer and really understood the concept of just like absurd motherhood. And so we shot this cover. We shot a photo of me like looking like Grace Susie Homemaker from the 50s, holding a cherry pie that's on fire, because that would be what would happen in my life. I would look very poised and polished and coiffed, and the shit would be burning down. And like trying to be glamorous in a pool, but you're in a kiddie pool and you have a juice box. You can't really get champagne.
Not a juice box.
A juice box and a rotary phone. But like that's just the absurdity and the hilarity of my life. And so I sent it to them, and they loved all of the photos. And so they went with it. So they've really given me a lot of creative license, which Blackstone has been literally a dream to work with.
When I read the book, and I messaged you like, oh, I just read the chapter titles. I know I'm going to be in for a good read, because so many of the chapter titles have that humor in it. And then you read the introduction, and that's like your warning. But then when I'm halfway deep into the book, I was like, I needed a warning. But I was like, oh, she did give me one in the beginning that I didn't think I really needed. And now I need it again. I need it again. Like, I need another one, like, prepare yourself. And being a woman that is so poised and tries to do all the right things and carry yourself in the right way, and you found yourself in these different situations that then became this book.
Yeah.
How did you feel once you released it to your editor and to the agents and to the industry to try to commodify it?
I had to look at it as, I had to put it in a few different boxes, if you will. So I had to look at it from the box of my story is here to help other people.
Mm.
The other box is I gotta feed my kid. So sure, we're gonna commodify my story, but my story is gonna feed my child.
Mm.
And then the other box was just I had to get it out.
Mm.
There's a chapter in here that deals with miscarriage. And that's one of the things that, as I was writing it, I realized I had never spoken about it, not in that detail. And without giving too much away, like that needed to happen for me and for the baby that passed. And I feel like other women who have experienced that, who will then have that moment of, oh crap, like I've never honored that baby. I just kept moving. So I know some people will say, you know, you're using your pain to make money, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You're entitled to your opinion. Okay. But me sharing my pain and how I triumphed it is going to help someone else. So if that's the case, then it's worth it.
And sharing your story, that's been healing for you, and hopefully you'll be healing to other women. And writing your children's book, you were working to make your daughter feel seen, but also other little girls and boys who may be disabled like her feel seen as well. And the differences between self-publishing your children's book and traditionally publishing your memoir. Would you do anything differently in this journey of writing and publishing?
It's all happened exactly the way it's supposed to happen. I could say, you know, I wish I had known about this, or I wish I had known about that when I was self-publishing my children's book. But if I had known about it, would I have known what to do with it? You know, just because you have information doesn't mean you know what to do with that information. Doesn't mean you're in a position where you can use that information. So, no, I don't think I would have done anything differently, self-publishing or traditionally publishing.
Mm.
And I remember when we were in proposal, like I said, I'm a Scorpio, and so I like to control all the things. And so I kept trying to like do this, that, and the other to make a publisher notice me and say, yes, we want this book. And finally, I just realized like, there's nothing I can do. My agent was like, look, if they don't want it, that's not your people. That's not your people. Like, stop stressing about it. If they say no, those are not the people we want for this book. It's not for them. Let it be what it's going to be. And I was like, well, damn, Jess, fine. Fine. But I also, after that phone call, I was like, all right, God, I was like, I'm done. You put it where it needs to be. That was like 98% true. Because then shortly after that, I was like, all right, we're going to manifest. We're just going to manifest. And so I put a post out. I said, y'all, like, I'm trying to get this book deal. If we could all just like manifest a book deal. I need something to happen here. Like, I need this to work out. And everyone's like, yeah, we'll manifest. Great. And then a couple of weeks later, because I do believe in the power of manifestation, I was sitting in my office at home and I was like, you know what? The last thing I have not done is made a mock cover of this book, like a real fake cover. Like, this is what it's going to be. And so I was sitting at home working on my computer, making a fake book cover. And my agent called me. And she's like, hey, you sitting down? I was like, yeah, girl, I'm just making a fake book cover. What's up? Literally. And she's like, well, you're going to make a real one because you got a deal. I was like, shut up. Like, are you playing with me right now? Like, don't play with me. She's like, no, I'm serious. Like, Blackstone's going to publish your book. I was like, oh my God, holy shit. Yeah, it literally got the call while I was making a fake book cover.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So we've talked about it. So do you have it with you to read a little bit from it?
I do. I do.
Black and Published family, it's time for the reading. Before we get into Adiba's book, Ain't That a Mother? Postpartum, Palsy, and Everything in Between, a few more details about this memoir. Adiba charts her story of love and loss, marriage and divorce, and the birth of her beautiful baby girl with humor, candor, and unflinching honesty. She balances her traumas with the triumph of the decision she's made to change her life and the legacy of her lineage. Here's Adiba.
All right, here we go. I think I want to talk about the thing that I've never seen on TV or even heard or read in books or magazines Black women talk about, which is postpartum depression. It's not something I feel like we've ever really been afforded a very realistic platform, but no one talks about the fact that Black moms have postpartum depression too. And sometimes it's worse because there's so many other societal factors at play, right? And so I want to talk about it because we don't talk about it. Okay, I'm not going to cry. I had to drive Jeff to work that morning, and on top of panicking about having to put on clothes that I was pretty sure were not going to fit, I was almost in hysterics at the thought of having to drive my child home alone in Houston traffic. Getting there was easy because Jeff drove, but as soon as I sat in the driver's seat, I felt the walls of the car closing in. I saw the bloody car crash in my mind. I squeezed my eyes shut as tight as I could and tried to breathe my way into a regular heartbeat. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably mere seconds, I was able to begin driving, but my child wouldn't be my child if she wasn't going to make me face all the fears at one time. 10 minutes into the 30-minute drive home, Emery began whimpering in her car seat. I immediately launched into prayer, begging God to keep her calm until we got home and I could get her back into the holy chair of good vibrations. But, as usual, God was ignoring me, and this child catapulted herself into a full-on fit on I-45. She wailed at the top of her lungs the whole way home. And you know what? I wailed too. I didn't know what the hell else to do, and nothing I was trying with my one free hand was working. Not shaking her foot, rubbing her leg, extra reaching to hold her pacifier in her mouth while steering with the other hand. Nothing. Not even the trick of stopping the car 2 car lengths behind the car in front of you at a stoplight and then inching forward while it brakes every couple of seconds. I thought for sure that would lull her to sleep. Nope. But it did piss her off even more. So there was that. By the time we got home, my nerves were shot, and it was all I could do to not punt her into that damn vibrating chair. I put her down without bothering to strap her in and ran to the hall bathroom. I was sweating bullets. My heart was racing. The tears were flowing, but damn it, we were home, alive. And up to that point, I was succeeding at doing the basics of my job, keeping us both alive. Nobody said anything about keeping us both happy. We were just focusing on alive. Anything else was a perk. I would like to tell you that was the last meltdown of the day, and we went on to have the most perfect mommy-daughter day ever because my postpartum depression miraculously disappeared. That would be a lie of epic proportions. What happened later that day is hands down one of the most frightening, heartbreaking, and truly unfamiliar experiences of my motherhood journey. Remembering it, I don't even know the woman I'm about to tell you about. I'd never met her before that day, but apparently she lived deep inside of me and just needed an opportunity to introduce herself.
So reading that chapter was hard for me because my daughter's 4 months, and sometimes in the car, my son may be crying, she may be crying, I may be crying, and we're still driving to Walmart or to the house or whatever. So that chapter was so visceral. And the woman you became and the woman you prayed away, as you said, has never been seen, not from the point of view of a Black woman. Why was it important for you to be so honest and raw about what you went through and what happened and what you almost did in that chapter?
Because Black women, society has made us superheroes. We've said it ourselves, Black women save the day. We're going to save the country. We're going to save the planet. And to our credit, we are some of the most resourceful, amazing women on this planet, right? But when you say things like that, it does not allow us to be seen in our full humanity. It makes us superheroes. We can do anything. We can handle anything. Nothing bothers us. We can save the world. But if we're saving the world, who saves us? Who sees us? Who catches us? Who can we look to and say, I see you? And so I needed to talk about it. Not only from a Black woman perspective, but just as a woman. There are so many things that as women we're told we're not supposed to say out loud. We're not supposed to talk about. We're not supposed to admit to. And that's just bullshit. Let women be whole human beings. Let us be sad and tired and scared. We can't save the world. We can't. We need to be whole. We need to be held. We need to be seen. We need to be acknowledged. The whole of our experiences need to be seen. And so I intentionally was very just open with my experience, because I know that if I've experienced it to this extent, someone else has experienced it to this extent, and maybe more. And it then gives that woman the freedom to say, me too. Not to piggyback on that, but when one woman says, I've experienced this, and this is what it looked like, another woman who may have been too scared to say, I've experienced this, and this is what it looked like now, says, oh, she did it and she didn't die. It's safe for me to do it too. And I just think we need to start having very open, honest, real dialogues about all the things that affect women, specifically women of color.
Thank you. I'm going to shift the mood a little bit away from the postpartum, because I got to get to the fact. You said earlier that you were actively trying not to get pregnant.
Yes.
I'm sorry, this has to be on record and in this interview, because it blew my whole mind away. So we got to get to the fact that and you're actively trying not to get pregnant. You took emergency contraceptive, also known as Plan B, and yet we're still pregnant because of a fact you found out later. Please tell the Black and Published audience what that fact is and how that blew your entire mind, and mine too, and probably theirs too once they hear it.
So, this is from my big girls, my thickums. If y'all are over 150 pounds, it is likely that Plan B will not work for you. I'm going to repeat that. If you're over 150 pounds, it is quite likely that Plan B will not work for you. I am not making this up. This was in a medical journal. You can Google it. A Black woman said it. It ain't nowhere on the package. I wish I had known. God dang it, I wish I had known.
But it's it doesn't even matter if you are a big girl or not, because I'm sitting at over 150 pounds now.
Fair point.
The last time I was 150 pounds, I think I was 28.
Fair
before
point.
I had my first child. So
right. Same. That's a fair point.
Right. So and for Black women with hips and butt and breasts and thighs,
right,
it's not made for us.
It's not made for us. Nope. Nope.
I just didn't know what to do with that.
Now, I will say, that as much as I was really trying so hard not to get pregnant, I feel so blessed and honored to have this kid. Like, God was like, oh, well, too bad, honey. Should have thought about that before you put Jill Scott on. But here she is. And I love her to death. But I make sure all my friends know I'm like, hey, get on that scale before you get in that bed tonight. just make sure.
Yes. And then at the beginning of the book, you introduce us to your now retired alter ego,
Yes.
Mrs.
Yes.
Big Bang McGillicuddy.
Yep.
Why did you want to do burlesque? And then why as Big Bang McGillicuddy? Because that name has a whole host of connotations.
Okay. So I grew up dancing. I stopped dancing when I was 21. Tucson, back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, up into mid 2000s, had a really big burlesque scene that I was not aware of. But in about 2014, I met some people that were doing it, and they're like, oh, there's a mentorship. And I was like, oh, this seems really cool. So I went to a show and I was like, oh, I could do this. I could so do this. Yeah. And there were no Black girls doing it. And I was like, oh, well, here's my lane. And so I had signed up for the mentorship. And the way the name came about is big because I'm not a small girl, right? So I was definitely going to pay homage to my size. And then Bang was because I loved the show The Big Bang Theory, but also my ex-husband, who was my fiance at the time, was very, 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 very much into physics. And so he also loved to study like the Big Bang Theory and all that stuff. And then McGillicuddy is an homage to Lucille Ball because I absolutely I love Lucy. I have seen almost every single episode. I adore her, and her character's maiden name on the show was McGillicuddy. And my character for my debut act was the nutty, naughty housewife. So it was this very like 50s polished housewife who was just doing all sorts of things with things on stage.
The whole produce section to the show.
The whole produce section. And so, yeah, the Big Bang McGillicuddy is how that came about. And there's not a lot that I shy away from, but there's a lot more that you can get away with when your alter ego is doing it on stage. She can give license to political statements that maybe I can't say in the way I want to say them in a written piece for Huffington Post or New York Times, but I can get on stage and tell these stories. So yeah, that was my burlesque life, and it was great. It made me a better parent too, believe it or not.
I can believe it because you had an outlet that was just for you. We're gonna move to the speed round. What is your favorite book?
The Rise You're Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston.
Who is your favorite author?
Zora Neale Hurston.
What is your favorite song?
Golden by Jill Scott. It's kind of a life mantra.
What do you think is the best book to movie or series adaptation?
Gosh, let's come back to that one.
Okay. I have a follow-up to that one too, but we'll come back.
Oh, okay.
We'll come back to both. If money were no option, where would you go and what would you do?
Oh gosh. I would eat my way through Italy, and then I would go lay on a beach in Bali, and then I would probably give a bunch of money to corporations, but have it earmarked for making their places of business accessible for people with disabilities.
It's like your own little Eat, Pray, Love, but it's like Eat, Love, Philanthropy.
So that's actually goes back to the question that you just asked about favorite book to movie adaptation. The one that always sits in the front of my mind is Eat, Pray, Love. there's just something about that movie. I don't know exactly what it is, but I could watch it over and over and over again. And it speaks to me on so many different levels. And that I would say is one of my favorites for this part of my life, for sure.
And I asked that question because you mentioned in the book that this book is now in development for television series. So who would you want playing the part of Adiba?
Danielle Brooks.
And what brings you joy? Because you mentioned that you're trying to find that now. So what brings you joy?
Being silly with my daughter. She intentionally annoys me because she's a teenager. And we just laugh about it. Like, I'm always like, why are you this way? Like, can you just not be this way? So she brings me a lot of joy. Getting to have dinner with my girlfriends, which I'm intentionally making myself do more of nowadays, because I know that the time is going to come where I'm not going to be able to do that. And so having dinners with my girlfriends brings me so much joy. Hearing from other people how my work has either touched them or made them think about something differently. I do get joy from that because I feel like as a writer, it's my job to just make you feel and make you think. And so when someone tells me, oh, I hadn't thought about it this way, but it's now that I've read your work, my perspective on this has forever changed. Like, that's when I know that I'm walking in my purpose. And for me, like, one of my biggest fears is not fulfilling my purpose here because I'm very well aware of what it is. So to not do that, like, you can't just play around with God. That's not how that works. Like, you're like, oh, we playing Snatch. So yeah.
I have a little game called Rewriting the Classics. So
Okay.
What's the one book you wish you would have written?
I haven't read it in so long. But I would say, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume. I read that book a lot when I was growing up, because I don't remember there being Black YA books when I was a kid.
What's the one book where you want to change the ending, and how would you do it?
It's so rare that I don't like a book where I would want to change anything about it. Well, there is one, but I can't think of what it was. Dang it. I remember I closed it and I was like, well, that was lackluster. That's how okay. I guess we're done. I'll have to think about it and I can email you or something because I can't remember the title right now. But I'm just like, oh. Sorry.
The non-answer, I think it's even better. Just for the reaction, like, you don't even remember the title of it to change the ending, but it was lackluster. And then name a book that you think is overrated and why.
Hey, this is where Adiba never gets another book deal. A book that I think is overrated. I can think of more of an album that I think is overrated than a book. I'm gonna let Bang answer this question. 50 Shades of Grey was the most overrated BS ever. Because, like, there is nothing, like, okay, that's sexy, but, like, why aren't y'all doing that anyway? Like, what's so ooh la la about this? Bunch of, like, just white suburban housewives that were like, oh my God, he brought out handcuffs. Well, yeah, okay. And, like, keep it moving, sis. Go get you some. Yeah, I couldn't see why everyone was so up in arms about it and rushing to buy it off the shelves. It was just like, well, if you're so enthralled, then go do it yourself.
I'm going to let that stand. My final question for you today is, when you are dead and gone and among the ancestors, what would you like someone to write about the legacy of words and work that you left behind?
This reminds me of Layla Saad's The Good Ancestors. She knew what she was here to do, and she did it.
Amen.
Yeah. She knew what she was here to do, and she did it.
Thank you, Adiba.
Thank you.
Big thank you to Adiba Nelson for being here today on Black and Published. Make sure you check out Adiba's memoir, Ain't That a Mother, out now, like right now, today, from Blackstone Publishing. And if you're not following Adiba, follow her on the socials. She's at Adiba Nelson on Instagram and Twitter. That's our show for the week. If you like this episode and want more Black and Published, head to our Instagram page. It's at Black and Published, and that's BLK and Published. There, I've posted a bonus clip from my interview with Adiba about what her mother thinks of the book and whether she'll let her daughter read it. Make sure you check it out and let me know what you think in the comments. Next week, our guest will be Preston Clark, author of the novel Vinny. Until then, I'll holla at y'all next week. Peace.